This is Conversations with Rob. We are here in sunny Florida while all you guys are freezing your butts off, even though we're freezing our butts off here in Orlando still. But you guys are a lot colder all over the country with all this cold weather. But I'm grateful to come on, and we're going to talk about some exercise stuff, some kind of more relaxation stuff for the people that have a lot of stress in their lives. And I'm going to be interviewing Caitlin Terry. She's the founder and director of Cabayoga. And Caitlin, first of all, thanks for coming on. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be here.
So, Caitlin, let's talk. Tell us a little bit in the viewers about yourself in general.
Myself in general, I have been working with horses for over 25 years. So from grooming and managing stables to teaching lessons and running camps and training programs. And then I started practicing yoga about 10 years ago. I've been teaching for about 4 years. I am local to Florida. I did grow up a little bit in Puerto Rico in my adolescence. But yeah, I'm mostly Florida girl and just building this new business with horses and yoga integrated, and really excited about it.
So let's talk about yoga. So what is yoga to you? People think of yoga and they think of all kinds of different things, but what is yoga to you in general?
So yoga, the word yoga actually means union, and so it's just finding that reconnection. It's reconnecting with that your breath, first of all, and just reconnecting with that source that you have to relax and to find that vibe in nature, and just recenter yourself. So yoga is a method of finding that connection and finding that union. There's
So
a lot
did
of
you,
ways to do it.
sorry to interrupt you, did you start doing that in general at a young age, or did you just kind of start up maybe like 19, 20 years old, or how did it come about
Yeah.
with yoga?
So I was a member at LA Fitness at a local gym, and I would just go like get my workout on. And I had some friends that had been doing yoga, and they were getting really advanced in postures, and I was kind of jealous. So I was like, I want to be able to do these cool like
Right.
handstands and stuff like that. So maybe for the wrong reason I started, but I'm equally glad that I did. I took my first class there at the gym, and I started going every week, and then just bounced around to some different teachers, some different experiences until I really found my sweet spot, a teacher that I really connected with, and started a regular practice.
All right, so I go to the gym daily. I go to these classes, as you said, like that you went to. You go in the
Yeah,
class, and as a guy, there's only like maybe it's at different at other gyms, but I go in the body flow class, and we talked about this off the air. I'm like one of like two or three guys, so it can be an
yeah,
intimidating for a guy to walk in, and it's mostly girls or women in general
yeah,
in the class. How would you tell a guy, say, hey, they're walking into the class, you're like, hey, I'm gonna go do yoga, and they're like,
yeah.
that's a little bit intimidating walking in, not knowing what you're doing. It's all women, there's no men. How would you feel
Yeah.
about telling somebody about going through with that class?
I mean, I feel like group fitness classes in general just have a reputation for like middle-aged women. It's like,
Very true.
aerobics, curves, and all of that. It just has that kind of image. But as
Right.
far as yoga goes, yoga actually is a practice that was designed only for men. So
Oh,
back in ancient times, women weren't even allowed to practice yoga. It was a men's only sacred practice, and that changed just in the past 100 years, with some of the daughters of the main gurus out of India that broke the mode and started coming to the West and teaching women. So for women doing it is a hot trend right now. I think a lot of men are starting to do it now because they find that balance of being able to, do their weight training and play sports and stuff like that and prevent injury by elongating those muscles and centering the mind and actually excelling at those other practices by having that balance.
right. Now, a lot of people, we talked about this a little bit earlier, do a lot of people say yoga helps the mind, body, and soul? Do you also agree with that statement? And if so, do you feel like for somebody that I teach, You go through stresses. There's a lot of jobs with, working in restaurants, regardless, that have a lot of stresses throughout the day. Would yoga really help my mind, body, and soul through
Yeah.
working, stressful jobs?
Yeah. So I totally agree with you. Like right now we're going through what they call the burnout crisis. And so yoga is a great tool. I think that we all need many tools to help us. There are so many stressors and so much high tension in our day-to-day lives and distractions and everything. But as far as yoga goes, it's really just about moving the body and remembering to breathe. And as you practice that, then throughout your day, you're going to be more conscious of your breath, taking more deep breaths, which in turn is going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system and slow down your heart rate, slow down your breath, which is really healthy for your body. But when you focus on your breath, your mind starts to calm and vice versa. Like even when you're coloring or you're writing something, you'll notice that your mind's focused on that, so your breath starts to slow down. Same thing when we focus on slowing down the breath and the mind calms. So they're two in the same.
I know you're not a medical doctor, but but do you feel, and you just kind of hit on about relaxation and stuff like that. Do you feel like if somebody does yoga for long periods of time and meditation, stuff like that, that may help them have less of having a heart attack, or maybe medical issues in general, if they're more relaxed and in tune with their mind and their body?
Yeah, totally. There's actually a lot of research backing that now, as people are starting to do more studies on this as it's getting bigger, that you're really training your brain waves. So your brain waves are always at like alpha, beta, like all day. And when you meditate and you sit quietly and you move the body and breathe, then you're actually accessing those delta brain waves, which is where we want to be to have optimal function of the body and the mind. So that definitely has effects where it's helping out the mind in that sense. But yoga also is designed to flush fresh blood through the body, and then the sequence of postures moves that fresh hot blood through the organs and through your joints, flushing out any sickness and disease and also pain and arthritis. So it has scientific design to it. It's just that's not the forefront of the practice. That's not how people lead when they explain to somebody what it's all about.
One more question, and then I want to get into what your business is about.
Yeah.
You've traveled all over the world, and have done this for quite a while. Where was traveling all over the world? What was your favorite place to go, and what did you learn or do in that place where you've traveled?
So my favorite place, like you said, I've been to a lot of places. My favorite place was Mexico. Definitely Mexico. I lived in Mexico City for a while, and I also lived in a little town north of Puerto Vallarta called San Pancho, and I was kind of alone there on a little adventure. But I had my yoga practice, and I also had my equine practice, my horseback riding practice, and it really showed me that I can always be confident in moving with that and having that, because it helps me connect with people. Having that practice and going to yoga classes and stuff like that, I was able to create a really healthy circle of friends and support. So I felt like really confident stepping into new places, knowing that yogis exist everywhere. And you can really find a good friend who has similar goals and healthy lifestyle all over the world if you have this practice that you take with you.
So you kind of hit on this. So I know I said one more question on this, but
Yeah.
since you said you've traveled all over, what is the difference between doing yoga in the U.S. to Mexico to other places all over the world that you've traveled, or do you feel like it's just the same? Everybody's kind of does the same kind of practice.
So there are many different types of yoga. So I would say first, just touching on that, if you're starting to do yoga, you're going to have to try a couple different classes before you find what works for you. Those practices all exist. Those different branches have made it all around the world. So you can find, if you're a hatha person, which is a kind of a more slow flow, you'll find those hatha classes and those people. My personal practice is Ashtanga, and that's more of a lifestyle than it is just a practice. So it's a lot more substantial of, I would say, a community than maybe some of the other people that practice. It's like that's your way of life. So and you can find Ashtangis all over. They have like all kinds of really great studios that they call shalas, and so that's where we gather.
It's interesting, yeah. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm learning from you because I'm a newbie. Like I said, I'm just
Yeah.
new to this, so I appreciate all the information. A lot of the stuff I didn't even know before we started the conversation. So thank you, and I'm sure everybody
Yeah.
else that's watching will be learning this too. So let's
Yeah.
talk about what your business is about. With the Cabayoga, am I saying that correctly, first of
Yeah.
all? Okay.
Yeah.
With the with the Cabayoga, you started that business. So now is that just because you have that love for horses in general and mixing that with
Yeah.
two things you love with yoga and horses? Or did you just
Yeah.
kind of, get it out of thin air? Or how did it come about?
So in my previous horse life, what I did was
Okay.
train. Well, I did a lot of hardcore training, jumpers, dressage, and that's kind of a strict practice, and it can be very stressful on the rider and the horse. But I did it for so long because I loved being around the horses, and I loved spending that time and that energy exchange. And then actually when I was in Mexico, I worked with this Olympic trainer, and we were teaching horses. We had got a bunch of cattle horses that we were training to be in this jumping program. And he just had a totally different way of approaching horses. It was very mindful of, maybe they've got like a mental block today. Like, let's just let them clear their mind. And it wasn't as much pressure. And so for the first time, I had this kind of aha moment of, wow, maybe there is like a different way to approach this that I can bring back to the States and back to my own practice and kind of show people another angle that really, it really takes care of the horse and makes sure that it's a healthy relationship and that they're participating and everything in the most healthy way.
Right.
Does that answer
Well,
your
that,
question?
no, yeah, it did.
Okay.
So, like I did research, before we went on here. So is there different type of classes that you offer? I know you do
Yeah.
individuals, you do group, and you do with kids too. Is there
Yeah.
different types of yoga that you do on the horses, or how does that work with the
Sure.
classes?
So the equine yoga classes have a pretty solid structure,
Hmm.
but when the students arrive, we kind of do a how familiar are you with horses? How comfortable are you? How familiar are you with yoga? And then after we assess that, we customize the whole experience. So we always start with the meditation to just kind of bring the energy down, and then we'll do some flow on the mat just to move the body and get warmed up. And then when we start to work with horses, it's totally a different experience every time. We do some groundwork, yoga with the horses, so you're touching the horse, you're finding balanced postures with the horse supporting you. And then and that can be the full practice for some people. Some people do a really solid flow on the floor, just touching the horses and kind of balancing with them. And then but the people who want to do the mounted flow, then you get on horseback, and then we'll slowly start to move forward and advance the sequence from there. So it can go from light, stretches and twists like that, and just working the core, and just breathing with the horse, or it can get pretty advanced where you're doing one-legged down dogs and chair pose and some of the other stuff that you might have seen on the social media.
Now, how do you find the horses with the right temperament to do this with? Horses are big animals. A lot of
Yeah.
people, I've rode horses, my sister has, but a lot of people are scared to get on a horse or even be near a horse. And now, we know they're gentle creatures, but how do you
Right.
find the horse with the right temperament?
So the horses that we have gone through some training
Hmm.
to be a little bit more knowledgeable of their position in the practice. So they're a safe partner. We've worked with them on just staying alert, paying attention to the person, staying square, so it's easier for them to balance. So the horses that we have are fully participating. My horse, Jeffrey, the big one that you probably see on social media, he's a rescue, and he's just the sweetest, calmest horse. So a lot of people that have some reservations about practice, As soon as we bring him out, then they kind of have a change of heart. He's like a big teddy bear. But anybody that has horses can integrate yoga into their life with that horse. It just takes a little bit of getting them used to it, but they feel our energy, and when we start to bring that calm energy around them, then they start to calm down too. And then the mounted practice is designed to be very mindful of their body, so it's almost like a massage for them, and it feels really good. And so the horses really like it, and after they've done the practice once, then they're really excited to get back out for the next one.
So what are the misconceptions that you see? Somebody walks in, they like you said, they walk in, they're nervous, they haven't really done this before. Maybe they're with a friend that's done it, but they haven't. What do you see with as far as what they think about when they're first walking in?
So some people I get caught. So the horses are very reactive to our energy, right? So because they're prey animals and they're herd animals. So they're reading your intentions, like, what's this person here to do? So some people will come out and they just want to come out and get like a picture for Instagram, and it's all about kind of ego forward. And the horses can sense that, and they're like messing with the people. They won't stay still. They feel that like discomfort, and they have a sense of humor. So there's that approach, and then there are people that come and they're like, they signed up for it, but they didn't really look into it. So they get there and they're like, what do you mean we're getting on the horse? We thought we were just going to do yoga like on the ground with the horses, like goat yoga. I'm like, no, this is much different. So yeah, we see a lot of different kinds of people come, and like I said before, we just kind of work with each individual to make sure that they're comfortable and getting the experience that they want, and they're not being pushed too far, outside of their limits or anything like that.
What is the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you during this, like as a student or a teacher, as a teacher or a student? What has happened? Have to throw a curveball a little bit.
Yeah, so we do these quarterly events for solstice and equinox. And so they're just like outdoor gatherings, and we do some guided meditations and just fun stuff, really, just kind of hang out. And Jeffrey, at the first one, he's a big horse, and he came right into the circle and just took a huge poop, like right in the circle. And it was totally distracting. Everyone was like, kind of like, oh, yeah. And then here he comes and just, made everyone kind of laugh and kind of snap out of it for a second. So, I mean, it's nature, right? But I'd say that was a memorable thing for most people. That was what they took home from that event.
Right. So since you just talked about the events, can you go through? I know you have an event coming up on the 22nd, and you had one in the past, but can you just talk about those in general and advertise those for us?
Yeah, so we do every equinox and every solstice, and it's just to get people back on a more traditional calendar. I was an event planner for a long time, and I really felt held hostage by all these events that we have to celebrate. It's like, go have green beer at St. Patrick's Day, go watch fireworks, it's 4th of July, and you're like, why are we doing this? Like, what does Valentine's Day even mean,
Yeah.
So I just took us back. I like to take us back to a very traditional calendar, which many ancient cultures would celebrate the changing of the seasons, the patterns of the sun with the equinox and the solstice. So we celebrate every first day of the new season. We get together out in the open pastures with the freely roaming horses, and we do fun, like gentle yoga and guided meditations, and they're all different. The one that's coming up is Sounds of Solstice. So it's 3 sound healing sessions. One is a piano soak with a guided meditation, which is going to be amazing. And then we have a crystal bowls sound healing, and then a gong bath. And so there's 3 really great meditation facilitators that are coming to lead us through that. We all get kind of dressed up for the season, like very like Stevie Nicks, woodsy witch kind of vibe, and take really cool pictures, which everybody has access to. We do kind of like the potluck, and this time actually we're doing a cacao ceremony to bring in the new year. So we've got a Cherokee friend of mine who's going to come out and lead us through the kickoff ceremony, and we'll have a bonfire afterwards. So they're all super fun, and they're all free events, and we do take donations for Dreamcatcher Horse Ranch and Rescue, which is a local rescue foundation for horses. So all for good cause.
Sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah, you should check it out since you're so close.
For sure, yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you see, when people go to these yoga classes, what should they bring? I know they're going to be on the horse, so, you don't really bring a mat, correct?
Yeah, so we actually do use mats, but I have mats at the farm because they're going out in the grass, and sometimes the horses will step on them and they'll leave hoof prints on your mat. So we have mats to provide for everybody. I say bring closed-toed shoes, but I usually give people the option to do some earthing and just be barefoot in the grass. Layers, because Florida weather is like hot, cold, and then blink of an eye. Right now, I would say if you're going to come to Saturday solstice, maybe bring a blanket, just because we're going to be there into the night for the bonfire. But yeah, just casual yoga pants, stretchy pants for practice, sunblock, always sunblock and water to drink. But that's it.
So we talked about the horses. So you got Jeffrey, Bling, and Izzy. All right. So what are I know we talked about the size of Jeffrey, right? Yep. Correct. As far as being a bigger horse. What are the differences between the other two with Bling and Izzy? Is it temperament wise? They're all different, obviously, because they're all different animals. All different horses,
they definitely have a different personality, and depending on the reason I got Jeffrey is so that there are no limits to the size of the person that's practicing. I'm almost 6 feet tall. I'm probably about 6 feet tall. And so I felt when I was practicing on horses prior, I was limited in my practice because I need a longer back so I could do anything, So that's so with Bling, she's a little bit smaller. She's a fell pony. So when people come out in mixed heights and sizes, we can kind of pair them off that way. We can, if you're going to do a more advanced practice and get into some of the harder postures, I would put you on Jeffrey also, just because he's got a wider back so that you can get into those a little bit easier. But some people, they get drawn to one horse, and I like for them to have that option as well, to kind of pick the horse that's speaking to them. So Jeffrey and Bling are our two main yoga horses. Izzy is a 24-year-old Polish Arabian, and so she really facilitates mostly meditation. So she comes in, the horses, like, they're herd animals, so when they have all their friends there, they're much more relaxed. So Izzy hangs out with us while we do the practices, and she'll come over and nuzzle you, and she just has a really beautiful presence, and as a retired horse, it's great for her to have this life. So that's kind of the 3 different roles that we've got so far. And we have a new horse in January.
Oh, January, nice. So let me ask you this. Do you worry about when you got all these first-timers, people that haven't done it, and we just talked about the horses with the backs and stuff like that, about balance? Yeah. Somebody doesn't really know well what they're doing. They're not really athletically coordinated. They get up on the horse, and you worry about them falling off. How does that work?
So people fall off. It's not a far fall. It's more like going off the slide.
Oh, okay.
And you can wear a helmet if you want to, but nobody ever gets injured because it's like a 3 foot, hop to the ground. But nobody just falls off really if you're just sitting there. And so we're not going to push you into something that if I see them start to get nervous or start to get a little bit shaky, then we'll take it back to home base and do some more breath work. And for a lot of people, that's enough, is sitting on that horse, feeling their calming energy, doing a little bit of upper body movement, a little bit of core, but really just focusing on the breath and having more of a meditative practice.
Right. Okay, I was just curious about that because, people are really good with balance, and they get up there and they're like out of it.
Well, yesterday, actually, just speaking of balance, I had a really good experience with that. Yesterday, I had 14 middle school students come out from Monarch Learning Academy in Winter Park. Okay. And so it was my first time having a large group of that age, and I really got to see, like, I remember what it was like in middle school where you're growing and you're like, you don't have a whole lot of body awareness. And so we had a little bit of that where like they have balance, but they're, just the coordination is a little bit off. So we shifted some things around and so they all had a really good experience. But I mean, it's totally unique to everyone. I can't say that enough. It's just, you don't have to worry about anything. You're comfortable up there. And that can be totally enough.
Do you get a lot of kids, or is it mostly adults? Is it more individuals, more groups? How does it work?
So we do predominantly the market is like 35 to 55 women. I have been getting more kids. We have some mother-son, mother-daughter kind of pairs that will come once a week. I have a couple senior citizens that come out and do some stuff with the horses. I think the youngest kid that I've had participate was 3, and he had a really great experience. Yeah, he was a friend of mine's son who is autistic, and he was just elated in the practice, just walking around, petting the horse, going, closing that eyes a little bit and just kind of feeling them under you and having that connection is really powerful for really all walks. So it benefits a lot. People have suffered from trauma, having that relaxation. And like I said before, it's just another tool. I think, it's great to have a practice of yoga in the studio or at home on your mat, but having this, like being in nature and then also having that kind of emotional support animal all tied in one is a really powerful experience.
How did it work with the senior citizens? I'm not trying to be ageist or anything,
no.
You got people that are on walkers, people that have arthritis. We talked about that early in the interview. They talk about balance. I mean, obviously when you get 70, 80 years old, your balance is really not like it used to be when you were 20 or 19.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
I've got some 70-year-old whippersnappers that come out, and they'll get on, and they'll do some flow on the horse. But most recently, we had a gentleman brought his mom out. She's 90, and she loves Western. She had like a history with horses, and now she's in a home, and she just likes to watch the horses in old Western movies. So she comes out and visits us now, and we just sit in the shade in comfortable chairs, and the horses come up. And they'll just snuggle you and just stand by you, and it's great to just be in their presence. So and just sitting outside and getting fresh air,
Right. No, I was sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, even like a 3-foot drop, somebody that's not stable with the hip thing, that would be scary. But I understand where you're going with it. Just a few more questions. Do the horses get treats? Do we give away apples at the end or some carrots, stuff like that?
End. Definitely at the end. If we bust the treats out too early, the horses turn into like little piranhas. They can't focus. So we hold off the treats until the end. Apples, carrots. Jeffrey loves bananas. They get peppermint. So they get lots of treats. Sure.
Oh, wow. So is it mainly that's what they like for treats as far as it's carrots, apples, bananas, stuff so mainly fruit stuff? Yeah. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I knew that the apples and the carrots, but I didn't know.
Yeah, that's the go-to.
But all right. So how should people feel after they do the experience? So when you get off the horse, the session is over. Is it just like they should be really feeling, relaxed, calm?
Man, yeah, you feel like you're on top of the world. Like I call it an altered state of mind, really, because you just feel this quietness inside of you. You feel connected. I like to refer to it as the wild spirit inside of you is kind of awakened again. We all have the connection with nature, but you really feel it after being out there and in the fields for a little while. There's bald eagles and hawks everywhere and with the horses, and it's just all the culmination of the whole thing just really gives you a sense of connection and inner peace. And I get a lot of people that walk away crying. They just love it. They're so happy. That brings tears to them. Everybody's just super grateful for the experience. So it's been awesome to watch.
Right. So last question before I want people to tell you how to get a hold of you and that. I know they have something where if you're out of town, you need to do like Airbnb. How does
Yeah.
that work? If you could just talk about that also.
Yeah, so the headquarters for Cabayoga is at Dark Horse Farms in
Right.
Stanford. And it's a beautiful, beautiful farmhouse in the middle of the property. So it's surrounded by the horse fields. And it's got these great, like, all window, second floor rooms in it that can be rented through Airbnb. And
Yeah.
so if you're traveling from out of town, or if you have friends or family coming in from out of town and you all want to do the experience, then you can make a trip out of it and stay at the Airbnb at Dark Horse Farm, and then either do your practice the day that you arrive, stay the night, or do it the next morning after you wake up, or even add to it if you want to give the horses a bath, if you want to help feeding, and really get out there. Then talk to us and we'll make it happen.
Right now, what is it just horses on the farm, or is there other animals that you can see, like if you was to stay
So
there or
yeah.
go with you and do the yoga?
Yeah, we have also two rescue dogs on the farm, Ruka and Maya. Yeah, so they'll greet you upon arrival, but just the horses and the dogs for now.
Okay, nice. So
Yeah.
can you tell people the pricing and where people can find you on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be, or in the website, of course, please.
Yeah, so the website is Cabayoga. It's the word caballo, horse in Spanish, and yoga mixed together. So CABAYOGA.org. It's Cabayoga on Instagram and Facebook. The pricing is all on the website, and you can book directly through there. It's $45 per person, 35 for kids, and that's a 2-hour practice. What else? And we also do workshops and the special events. All of that information is on the website.
All right. Well, Caitlin, thanks so much for spending time with us. If you
Yeah,
liked
sure.
Caitlin's what she had to say, and I definitely would like to try that and get and keep in contact with you. Definitely
Yeah,
check out the website and the Instagram. Caitlin, thanks so much for taking time out of
yeah,
your busy day to do
for
this.
sure, Rob.
All
Yeah,
right.
thanks,
Talk to you
Rob.
soon.
Appreciate it. Bye.